The gym doors slam shut like a judge's gavel, and the air inside Duke University's practice facility turns electric, thick with the kind of tension that makes legends and breaks careers in the same breath. December 12th, 2025, the first official day of Team USA's Future or Die training camp. Cameras banned, phones confiscated. But somehow every soul in America already knows what's about to explode. It starts with a whistle, sharp enough to cut. Glass. Caitlin Clark, all 6 foot of quiet lightning, rises for another logo. 3 in transition. Swish. The net snaps like applause. And that's when it happens. Aya Wilson, arms raised in mock defense, steps in late, shoulders slamming into Clark's ribs like a freight train wrapped in. Resentment. Clark stumbles, catches herself, eyes wide but unflinching. The whistle shrieks again. Foul? Travel? No call comes, because in that frozen second, the entire gym realizes this isn't about the play anymore. Wilson's voice slices through the silence. First, low and venomous. Stay in your lane, rookie. Some of us earned this. Jersey. Clark turns slowly, chest heaving, but her words come out steady as scripture. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The gym holds its breath. Brittany Griner freezes mid-rebound. Kelsey Plum's mouth actually drops open. Sue Bird, standing courtside with a roster clipboard, feels the moment tilt on its axis. Then Wilson lunges, finger jabbing inches from Clark's face, screaming words that echo off the rafters. You don't get to take what's mine. Coaches rush the floor. Arms separate them. But the damage is already done. The red light on the emergency exit flickers like a warning. 24 hours later, the official statement drops like a bomb. Aya Wilson has been removed from the December training camp, effective immediately. Conduct unbecoming of Team USA. The spot she vacated, handed straight to the same rookie she just tried to bury. America gasps. Twitter burns. And somewhere in the chaos, one truth rises above the noise. The Queen tried to dethrone the future, and the future just smiled and took the crown. But how did we get here? How did the most dominant force in the league end up watching the door slam on her Olympic dreams, while the rookie everyone called overhyped steps into the spotlight she was born for? Hold on tight, because what happened next didn't just shake the WNBA. It rewrote the definition of destiny. Picture this. Cameron Indoor Stadium dressed in red, white, and blue bunting that nobody asked for, but everybody needed. Outside, North Carolina winter bites the air. But inside the practice gym, the heat is coming from something far more dangerous than the thermostats. This isn't just a December camp. This is the crucible. 12 days that will decide who carries a flag at the 2026 World Cup in Germany and who gets to chase immortality under the Olympic rings in Los Angeles in 2028 on home soil, with the entire country screaming their names. Every single invitation to this camp is a golden ticket dipped in legacy. Sue Bird didn't send them out lightly. She hand-picked the future, while the present watched in stunned silence. Paige Buchers, still healing from the ACL that stole her senior year, got the call. Juju Watkins, the 19-year-old prodigy who already broke LeBron's high school scoring record, got the call. Angel Reese, trash talk royalty with a double-double addiction, got the call. Cameron Brink, Aaliyah Boston, Rick Kia Jackson, names that sound like poetry and play like thunder. And right therein, the center of it all, like the North Star everyone's been chasing, Caitlin Clark. But one name is missing. One name that, just 12 months ago, felt untouchable. Aya Wilson, 2-time MVP, reigning champion, the woman who carried the aces on her back and the league on her shoulders, is not on the list. Not even a maybe. Not a wait and see. Just gone. And the silence that follows isn't polite. It's deafening, because this isn't an oversight. This is a message written in capital letters and signed by the ghosts of every American player who ever wore. The jersey, we are building something bigger than any one ego. Team USA isn't hiding the reason either. The statement is short, surgical, and brutal. Selections reflect basketball, excellence, leadership, and alignment with our values of unity and respect. Translation? The same woman who spent the last year throwing shade at the rookie revolution just got exiled from the revolution itself. Across the country, phones explode. Immigrant, moms in Des Moines who never watched a basketball game before Clark are texting. Their group chats in tears. Little black and brown girls who painted IAS number on their bedroom walls suddenly feel the ground shift beneath them. Progressive sports pages that spent years defending Wilson's competitive fire now stare at their screens, mouths dry, wondering how fire turned into arson. Because this camp isn't just about who can hoop. It's about who America wants to become. It's about the daughter of refugees who learned to shoot in a church gym in Iowa, standing tall next to the children of civil rights marches and border crossing dreams, all of them wearing the same flag. It's about proving that the table is big enough for every story, every skin tone, every accent, as long as nobody tries to burn the table, down to stay the only one sitting at it. And right now, that table has an empty chair, with Io Wilson's nameplate ripped off and tossed in the trash. So while Caitlin Clark laces up next to legends, who once seemed a lifetime away, the question hanging in the rafters isn't whether she belongs. It's how someone who had everything handed to her on a championship platter ended up losing the one thing no amount of MVPs can buy back. Because what Io Wilson did in the months leading up to that explosive scrimmage wasn't just petty. It was poison. And poison always finds its way back to the hand that poured it. But to understand just how deep that poison ran, we have to go back to the moments when the cracks first appeared in. The Queen's crown and the rookie everyone called a fluke started shining, bright enough to expose them all. Section 3. Antagonist backstory, 800 words. Let's pull the veil all the way back because every villain believes she's a hero of her own story until the credits roll and the audience boos. Io Wilson arrived in the WNBA like a storm that had been brewing since she was a little girl in Hopkins, South Carolina, watching her grandmother iron uniforms for extra cash so the family could eat. She carried that hunger the way other people carry designer bags. Quietly, fiercely, and with the absolute conviction that nobody was ever going to outwork her. And for years, nobody did. Defensive Player of the Year is a rookie, MVP by 24, championship ring by 26. The league crowned her. Nike inked her. ESPN built montages around her smile and her snarl in equal measure. She was a blueprint, the bridge, the face you put on posters. When you wanted little black girls to believe the game could love them back. But blueprints get redrawn when someone builds something taller. The first tremor came the day Caitlin Clark's 8-year, $28 million Nike signature shoe deal dropped. Aya was in Vegas, fresh off another 50-point playoff masterpiece, when the notifications lit up her phone like fireworks. She stared at the numbers, then at her own reflection in the black screen, and something inside her shifted. Not anger yet. Worse. Recognition. The terrifying realization that the spotlight she had fought tooth and nail to stand in was sliding, inch by inch, toward a white girl from Iowa who had never had a code switch in a single interview. That night, she posted the picture everyone remembers, her own Nike kicks, dusty from battle, captioned with a single line, "I got a shoe too." The internet called it clapback. Her teammates called it cringe. Aya called it survival. Then came the Time Athlete of the Year cover. Caitlin on the front, arms crossed, looking like she was born to break. Barriers. Aya scrolled past in the locker room like 3 separate tweets, questioning whether Clark had really earned it yet, then unliked them 10 minutes later when the replies got ugly. But the damage was screenshot, immortalized, weaponized. She told reporters it was just noise, but her eyes said something different. They said delayed is not denied. They said not yet. They said mine. Every milestone after that became a landmine. Clark shattered the rookie scoring record. Aya reminded everyone she'd done it. With a torn labrum nobody knew about, Clark sold out arenas in cities that hadn't cared about the W since the Comets folded. Aya started counting empty. Seats at Ace's games away wounded soldiers count scars. When Clark's jersey outsold every player in the league combined, Aya went on a podcast and laughed too loud about how veterans get paid in respect, not jerseys. The host didn't laugh back. The worst part? She never said Caitlyn's name. Not once. She didn't have to. Every cryptic quote, every side-eye, every. Certain people carried the same venom. It was death by 1,000 subtweets. And the league felt every cut. Privately, people close to her begged her to. Stop. You're bigger than this, Becky Hammond told her after she spent 20 minutes dissecting Clark's turnover rate in film session like it was personal. You're feeding the exact narrative you claim to hate. Aya heard none of it. In her mind, she wasn't tearing anyone down. She was defending what was hers. The throne, the story, the right to be the undisputed one. But thrones are cold and stories change, and the moment you start swinging at the future swings back harder. Because while Aya was busy guarding a crown that was already slipping, Caitlin Clark was quietly building a kingdom big enough for every little girl who ever felt invisible, immigrant or not, country or city, black or white or brown, to walk right in and claim a seat at the table without asking permission. And tables, unlike thrones, have room for more than one queen. But Aya never saw the new table being built. She was too busy burning the old one down to keep warm. And that beautiful people is how the most powerful woman in the league ended up on the outside of history's door, knocking with fists that once moved mountains, while the rookie she tried to. Barry simply turned the knob and walked through. Section 4, Protagonist, Backstory 900 words. Long before the logo threes and the sold out arenas, there was a little white girl in a West Des Moines gym that smelled like floor wax and dreams, shooting until the lights went out and the janitor begged her to go home. Caitlin Clark was 8 the first time she saw her mom cry over a credit card bill, 12 when her dad worked 3 jobs so she could play AU in cities she couldn't pronounce. She learned early that nothing in America is free except the chance to outwork everybody else. And she took that chance and ran with it like the ball was glued to her fingertips. Her grandparents on her mother's side came from Italy with 2 suitcases and a recipe for marinara that still shows up at every team potluck. They taught her that pride isn't loud. It's showing up early, staying late, and never letting anyone out-hustle your family name. That's the blood that pumped through her veins when she tore her groin in March 2025. A freak explosion off a screen that should have ended her rookie season before it started. Doctors said 6 to 8 weeks. Caitlin heard 6 to 8 days. She spent nights in the training room with immigrant strength coaches who spoke to her in broken English and perfect belief, taping her leg, icing her future, whispering, "You come from people who crossed oceans. You can cross this." She came back in 21 days. Dropped 41 on Phoenix in her first game back. And when the reporter asked how, she just smiled and said, "My nana didn't survive Ellis Island for me to miss. Layups." That's who Caitlin Clark is. She never leads with a struggle because she was taught struggle is private and gratitude is public. When kids with accents thicker than hers ask for autographs in languages she barely understands, she signs extra slow so they feel seen. When little black girls in braids tell her Aya is their hero, she kneels down and says, "Then let's both make her proud tonight." She collects stories away. Other people collect rings because she knows every story in that arena, hers, there's ours, is the only reason any of us get to play this game at all. And still they called her privileged. Still, They said the league was handing her the world because of how she looked. Caitlin never clapped back. She just kept passing the spotlight the way she passes the ball, wide open, chest high, right into the shooter's pocket. She turned Aaliyah Boston into an all-star with entry passes so pretty they belonged. In museums, she turned Kelsey Mitchell into a 40-point assassin by trusting her in the corner every single trip. She turned an entire generation of kids who'd never watched women's basketball into believers who stayed up past bedtime just to see number 22 smile after a win. Every record she broke, she credited the veterans who paved the road. Every sold-out crowd, she thanked the little girls in the nosebleeds holding signs written in crayon. When the hate got loudest, when they said she didn't belong, when they said she was stealing something, that was never theirs to gatekeep. She just turned the volume up on her game and let the scoreboard do the talking. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't fight for seats at the table, she builds bigger tables. She drags extra chairs into the circle until there's room for the refugee kid from Bosnia and the girl from the South. Side projects and the farm girl from Iowa who still says grace before every meal. That's the gospel she preaches with every no-look dime, every chase down, block, every post-game hug that lasts long enough for the tears to dry. And when the call came from Sue Bird, the call that said, "We need you in Durham. We need what you carry," Caitlin didn't celebrate alone. She FaceTimed her Nana first, then her strength coach from Puerto Rico, then the little black girl in Chicago who sends her drawings after every game. She told them all the same thing. We did this, all of us. That's the woman who walked into that December. Jim with a healing groin and an unbroken spirit. The one who looked entitlement in the eye and answered with kindness sharp enough to cut diamonds. The one who was forged in quiet sacrifice, immigrant grit, and the kind of love that doesn't keep score. And when the storm finally came for her, when the queen of the league decided the new girl had to be taught a lesson, Caitlin Clark was ready, not because she wanted the crown, but because she had already given away to every single person watching. The whistle dies in the ref's mouth like a gunshot in church. The ball rolls forgotten into the corner while 30 pairs of eyes lock on the same spot. Half court where Aya Wilson is still breathing. Fire through her teeth and Caitlin Clark hasn't moved an inch. Wilson steps closer, voice low enough that only the front row of teammates hears it first, then loud enough that the rafters carry every syllable. You think they brought you here to play hero? They brought you here because you sell tickets. White girl. That's it. The words land like acid. You can see them burn across Clark's face for half a heartbeat. Just half before the armor snaps back into place. She doesn't step back. She doesn't raise her voice. She simply looks Wilson dead in the eye and answers, calm as Sunday morning. I sell tickets so little girls who look like your little sister can dream bigger than the boxes people keep trying to put them in. You're welcome. The gym inhales. Angel Reese's hand flies to her mouth. Kelsey Plum actually whispers, "Oh my God." Wilson's face twists. The mask is off now. Don't you dare talk about my sister. You don't get to use us for your redemption arc. Clark tilts her head, almost gentle. I'm not the one who made this about us versus them. Aya, that was you. Every single day you chose that fight. A second whistle, sharper this time. Coaches surge forward, but Wilson shrugs them off like mosquitoes. She's too far gone. You waltz in here with your $28 million smile and act like the rest of us didn't bleed for this jersey. Clark's voice doesn't waver. I bled in a training room at 3 a.m. while you were asleep. I bled when they told me my season was over and I still found a way back. I bled when people I respected call me everything but a ball player because of how I look. Don't talk to me about bleeding. The space between them is electric, crackling. You could power Las Vegas with it. Brittany Griner steps in, palms up, trying to create peace. but even she looks shaken, because this isn't about a foul anymore. This is about every interview Aya weaponized, every cryptic post. Every time she laughed too loud, when someone questioned whether Caitlin belonged, all of it boiling over in one ugly, honest moment. Wilson's chest heaves. Her next words come out, cracked, almost pleading. This was supposed to be mine. Clark's answer is soft enough to break your heart and strong enough to end a dynasty. It still can be, just not if you keep trying to take it from everybody else. The gym goes dead silent. You can hear the banners overhead swaying in the air conditioning. Sue Bird's clipboard hits the floor with a clatter that sounds like a gavel. And in that silence, something shifts. The veterans who spent months walking the tightrope suddenly pick a side. Aaliyah Boston steps up beside Clark, shoulder to shoulder. Then Cameron Brink. Then Paige Buchers. A quiet, unbreakable line drawn in sweat and solidarity. Wilson sees it, really sees it, and for the first time since she walked into the league, the most dominant force in women's basketball looks small. The coaches finally pull them apart, but the damage, the truth, is already loose in the air, impossible to cage. Because the queen just swung at the future, and the future didn't swing back. She simply stood there, surrounded by every dream she tried to gatekeep, and waited for the reckoning. And when it came, it didn't roar. It whispered. Section 6, the mic drop, counterattack, 1,100 words. The referees are still trying to herd everyone to their benches when Sue Bird's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade, wrapped in silk. Hold up. Everybody hold up. She doesn't yell. She never has to. The clipboard is back in her hand now, and the look she gives. Aya Wilson could freeze a desert. You want to talk about who belongs here? Fine. Let's talk. Silence falls so hard you can hear the leather of the ball cooling on the floor. Sue turns to the circle of players, some legends, some babies, all family, and starts speaking the way only someone who's won at every level gets to speak. Team USA isn't a museum for what you did yesterday. It's a rocket ship for where we're going tomorrow. And tomorrow has no room for anybody who thinks lifting yourself up means pushing somebody else down. Wilson's jaw tightens. She opens her mouth, but Sue isn't done. Caitlin, tell them what you told me on the phone when I called you about this camp. Clark hesitates. The way people do when they're afraid humility will sound like bragging. Then she steps forward, voice steady, eyes shining with something fiercer than anger. I told Coach Bird that if I made this team, I wanted my first practice jersey to have Aaliyah Boston's number on the back. Because every highlight I have exists because she set the screen, took the charge, grabbed the rebound I never could. I told her I'd rather average 10 assists and 0 credit than 30 points, and a divided locker room. And I meant it. Aaliyah's eyes well up instantly. She reaches out and squeezes Clark's hand without thinking. The camera phones that aren't supposed to exist in here are already recording from under towels and behind water bottles. Sue nods once, sharp. That's the standard. Now. Wilson scoffs, but it's weaker this time. So, we just hand the keys to the rookie who's been here 5 minutes. No, Sue answers, turning the full force of 40 years of greatness on her. We hand the keys to the rookie who spent the last 8 months turning every arena in America into a celebration of every little girl who ever felt too something to belong. Black girls, white girls, brown girls, immigrant girls, queer girls, country girls, city girls. She didn't ask them to choose sides. She asked them to choose the game. And they chose her, not because of marketing, because of this. She gestures to the huddle where Paige Buchers is already whispering plays to Juju Watkins, where Angel Reese is nodding along like she'd been waiting her whole life for this exact circle, where Cameron Brink is translating something for Rickea Jackson in rapid-fire Spanish and English, where Caitlin Clark is standing in the middle, not above anyone, just exactly where she's always belonged. The gym feels different now. Bigger, brighter, like someone opened a window and let the future in. Wilson tries one last time. You're telling me talent doesn't matter anymore? Rings don't matter? Clark answers before Sue can. They matter. They just don't matter more than people. You taught me that. Aya. Every time. You spoke about carrying the league on your back. You reminded us it's about more than stats. I listened. I just chose to carry it forward instead of holding a hostage. The words land softer than a punch and hurt. Twice as much. You can see it hit Wilson right behind the eyes the moment she realizes the student has become the master without ever raising her voice. Sue Bird lifts the official roster sheet, tears. It cleanly in half and lets the pieces flutter to the floor like confetti at A. Coronation, new rule, she says, smiling for first time all day. From this moment on, we build the roster around who makes the circle bigger, not who makes themselves taller. Meeting adjourned. The veterans who've been watching from the sideline, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, start clapping first. Slow, deliberate, the kind of applause that echoes in history books. Then the young ones join in. Then the coaches. Then the trainers. The sound swells until it feels like the roof might lift off camera and indoor. Wilson stands alone in the middle of it, arms hanging at her sides, watching 25 women choose unity over ego, future, over fear, and for the first time in her life, the strongest woman in the building has nothing left to say. Clark doesn't gloat. She simply walks over, offers the same hand she's been offering everyone else all year, and waits. The gym holds its breath one last time, because what happens next will tell us everything about who we really are when nobody's watching. And America, beautiful, messy, hopeful America, is watching very, very closely. Section 7. The Aftermath Shockwaves, 800 words. The gym doors burst open at 6:03 p.m. and the North Carolina cold rushes, and like it's been waiting its turn. By 6:04, the first video is already on X. Grainy, vertical, watermarked with someone's. Manicured thumb, but unmistakable. Aya Wilson walking out alone, hoodie up, eyes fixed on nothing, while behind her the entire Team USA roster forms A. Circle around Caitlin Clark like she's a new sun and they're finally warm. Within 30 minutes, hashtag, thank you Caitlin is the #1 trend worldwide. Not because anyone told it to trend, because millions of people felt it in their chest at the exact same second. A 12-year-old girl from Tucson posts A. Selfie holding her Nana's Italian prayer card in one hand and a Caitlin Clark jersey in the other. Caption, my ancestors crossed an ocean. She crossed A. Country, same fight. It gets 2 million likes before dinner. In Chicago, a black mom films her daughter burning. An old Aces poster in the backyard fire pit. The kid looks straight into the camera and says, I loved you until you told me my dreams had to wait there. Turn. The video ends with the mom hugging her so hard you can't tell where one. Heartbeat stops and the other starts. By midnight, the memes are merciless. Someone overlays Wilson's I got a shoe too post over an empty chair at the Team USA table. Someone else photoshops Clark sitting at that table with every young star leaning in like she's telling the best story they've ever heard. The caption reads, when you stop trying to gatekeep the future and just become it. Celebrities who stayed quiet all season suddenly find their voice. Megan Thee Stallion posts a simple red heart and the words, growth looks good on some people. Serena Williams, who knows a thing or two about being hated for being first, tweets a photo of a young Caitlin at one of her tennis camps years ago and writes, I saw the light in her eyes back. Then, some of y'all just mad it's shining on everybody now. The WNBA's official statement is short and surgical. Conduct that divides has no place in the pursuit of global excellence. Translation, we just drew the line and it's bright red, white, and blue. Aya posts at 2:17 a.m. Just 4 words in A. Period. Lessons are expensive. The replies are a war zone. Half are knives, half are hugs. Some of us scroll through both and realize maybe she needs the knives to feel the hugs later. But the real earthquake is quieter. In group, chats across the country, little girls who spent the year being told they had to choose Clark or Aya, new or old, this identity or that one, stop choosing. They start posting photos of themselves wearing both jerseys at the same time. One sleeve Aces purple, one sleeve Fever blue. They call it a unity fit. It becomes a movement before breakfast. And somewhere in Indiana, Caitlin Clark does the most Caitlin Clark thing imaginable. She goes live on Instagram from her couch, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, holding a bowl of her Nana's marinara, like it's communion. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't lecture. She just says, soft and steady, I don't want anybody's dream smaller so mine can feel bigger. There's room. There's always been room. If tonight showed us anything, it's that the second we stop fighting over crumbs and start baking a bigger pie everybody eats. She ends alive with a single sentence that breaks the internet in the gentlest way possible. See y'all at practice tomorrow. Bring your appetites. The screen goes black, and for the first time in years, the timeline feels hopeful, like we just watched the passing of a torch that didn't burn the hand holding it. But hope is a beginning, not an ending. And the real question still lingers in the quiet after the storm. When the dust settles and the lights come back up, what kind of country, what kind of league, what kind of women do we choose to be? When nobody's forcing us to pick a side, the answer starts now. Section 8, the resolution/moral lesson, 700 words. Dawn breaks over Durham like forgiveness nobody asks for, but everybody needs. Inside the empty gym, the banners still hang. Bird to Rossi, catching's Leslie. But the loudest sound now is a single. Basketball bouncing in perfect rhythm. Caitlin Clark is alone on the court. Running shooters we with the janitor's 8-year-old daughter teaching her the same hesitation move her dad taught her in that church gym back in Iowa. The kid drains a 10-footer, and Clark lifts her high enough to touch the rim, both of them laughing like the whole world didn't just explode 12 hours ago. That's the image that leaks next. Not the fight, not the torn roster. This, a white girl from the heartland and a little black girl from the maintenance closet, sharing the same dream under the same net. Somebody's phone captures 30 seconds of pure light and posts it with no caption. It gets 30 million views before lunch. Because that's the real ending nobody scripted. Aya Wilson never comes back to that gym. She flies home to South Carolina, sits on her grandmother's porch, and finally lets herself cry the way she hasn't since she was 9 years old and too proud to admit she was scared. Her grandmother doesn't say, I told you so. She just hands her a plate of collards and says, crowns get heavy, baby. Sometimes the kindest thing the world can do is take it off your head before it crushes you. And somewhere in the quiet, Aya starts to understand greatness isn't the throne. It's the door you hold open when it's your turn to walk through first. Back in Durham, practice begins again. No speeches, no ceremonies, just 25 women choosing every single possession to pass the ball forward instead of backward. Angel resets a screen for Paige Buchers and screams, that's family, when it springs her free. Juju Watkins asks Aaliyah Boston to teach her the same footwork Aya once perfected, and Boston smiles and says, we keep the good parts, we leave the poison. They run the play until it's beautiful. Caitlin Clark never mentions the night before. She just keeps doing what she's always done, making everybody around her shine brighter than they ever thought possible. And in the spaces between drills, she tells the rookies stories about the veterans who came before them, about IAS, chase down blocks, about how fierce she was when the game needed protecting. She refuses to let the story end in ashes, because that's what real heroes do. They don't erase the past. They redeem it And if you're listening closely now, you can almost hear America exhaling. All of us, immigrant kids, project kids, small town kids, kids who never saw themselves on television until suddenly they did, realizing the table is bigger than we ever imagined, as long as nobody tries to sit at the head alone. This is the moral of the game, just wrote in sweat and tears and second chances.